Assalamu alaikum listeners, welcome to the show spin-off where we cover ICC Men's T20 World Cup for 2024. I'm your host Faisal Ilyas. In ICC Men's T20 World Cup, two games from Group A have been played, one between India and Afghanistan and the other between Australia and Bangladesh. These are the two games that we'll talk about in today's show. Also, Pakistan team is returning after their dismal performance in the World Cup, and a lot of allegation, a lot of senior players complaining about how our team has been performing badly for the last 1 year or so. And in all the formats, we've seen Mohammad Hafeez also came out and he is also disclosing as to what was the behavior of the players when he was the director in Australia tour. So in today's show, we'll talk about all of that and mainly we'll cover the games that have been played, and two more games from Group 2 also are to be played from now till our next show tomorrow. So a lot of exciting things to talk about in today's show, especially like we predicted that Afghanistan will not have great intent when they play against India, and we saw the same thing happening in yesterday's game, and India winning against Afghanistan very easily. So we'll have complete dissection of this game and we'll see as to how India won this game with such a big margin and how it is going to impact their chances to qualify for the semi-finals. And we saw the first hat-trick in this year's T20 World Cup. Pat Cummins, who can forget this man who beat India in the 50-over World Cup last year? He has come up with the hat-trick this time round. But we'll focus right now on India-Afghanistan game, which India won easily by 47 runs. India won the toss on Kingston Oval ground, Barbados, and they opted to bat first, and we saw that India was struggling in the beginning, but eventually they managed to score 181 for 8 wickets. If we look at the great performers in batting, we had Surya Kumar Yadav, who is the top-rated ICC top-rated batsman for India. He scored 53 of 28, quick-fire inning from him, and the way he hugged Wasim Akram, our legend Wasim Akram, after the post-match where he was awarded the man of the match, it was interesting to see. Also Hardik Pandya, who was bowling nicely in this tournament, but he was due for some runs and he managed to score runs yesterday. He scored 32 of 24. Virat Kohli, who is struggling in this year's World Cup, he already had 2 ducks and he had not passed a double-figure score in this year's T20 World Cup. He managed to score some runs and we expected him to score runs against Afghanistan, but he only scored 24 of 24 balls. Rishabh Pant, who's been in good touch, he scored 20 of 11. When we see Afghanistan's bowling, they looked lackluster. I mean, their last performance against West Indies was also very bad. So kind of they have not come out of that phase of conceding so many runs. Rashid Khan, who is their premium bowler, leg spinner, he gave away 26 runs. He took 3 wickets. Fazlul Haq Farooqi, who has been the star of this year's World Cup, but he's having last 2 games very bad because yesterday also again he conceded 33 runs, although he took 3 wickets and he's the highest wicket taker right now in the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. Naveenul Haq conceded a lot of runs. He conceded 40. He took 1 wicket. If we break down India's performance into power play and middle overs and end overs, then India scored 47 in the power play. Between 7 to 10 they scored 32, conceded 2 wickets, and between 11 and 15 they scored 47. In the last 16 to 20 overs, in the last 5 overs, they scored 55 for 4. And like I said, this score was enough for them to beat Afghanistan by a big margin. But the highlight of the batting was Surya Kumar Yadav's great innings. And we saw his good batting in the Super 20 round as well. So Surya Kumar finally is firing in a big tournament which was due from him. So when Afghanistan batted, the pitch looked completely different and it was hard for them to adjust, which is surprising to see. They got out for 134 runs only, and their openers, who's been in great touch, are not doing great since last 2 games against West Indies. Also, their openers failed, and against India, they have failed once again. Azmatullah Omarzai, who is their all-rounder, he scored 26 of 20, and the next big performance from Gulbadin Naib, who scored 17 of 21 balls. One of the listeners has to say that why is Pakistan team not back to our country? It's a good question, so I'm sure all of you guys are waiting to welcome the team. But the news is that some of the players are going to UK on leaves because they don't have much to do, because all of the teams are busy in playing T20 World Cup. And these players are Babar, Haris, Muhammad Amir, Imad, Azam and Shadab. These players are going to UK for some break, and some of the players have already come to Pakistan through their flight through Dubai. So this is the news on players coming back, and you guys can also chip in with your questions. I've seen some of the questions on Mohammad Hafeez's podcast with Gilchrist and Vaughan. We'll talk about it also, because Hafeez has pointed out some of the things that he noticed in the dugout when he was the director of our cricket team in Australia's tour. We'll talk about that also, but now we focus our attention again on the game between Afghanistan and India, where India bowled superbly, and especially their pacer Bumrah has taken 3 wickets again, and we have seen that he's literally unplayable in this tournament so far. And if we say that this tournament belongs to bowlers, it will not be incorrect, because bowlers have been doing so well in this World Cup, and we saw that Afghanistan was bowled out for just 134 in this game against India, where India won by 47 runs. So 2 points for India from this game, and Surya Kumar Yadav being the man of the match. All of the good signs for India. The only thing left for India to do in this World Cup is Virat Kohli to fire in this tournament, which is a rarity, because we see that in ICC tournaments Virat Kohli comes out very strong, but he still has to deliver. But again, a lot of games to go, especially the upcoming games for India are going to be very exciting, because they'll play big teams like Australia and Bangladesh. So a lot to look forward to from the Indian team. This game goes in India's favor, which was kind of expected as well. If we break down Afghanistan's inning, they were very bad in the power plays. Their openers again failed. Between 1 and 6 overs, they just scored 35 runs, and they lost 3 wickets, which was it. I mean, when you lose 3 wickets in the power play and you're chasing 180, it becomes very difficult for the middle orders and the later order team to chase down the total. So that was the case. They bowled out for just 134, and India won the game. The second game that was played today morning was between Australia and Bangladesh. This game was affected by rain, and DNL method came into play, because of which Australia won the game by 28 runs. In this game again, Australia won the toss and they opted to bowl first, because there was this rain condition, and DL method came into play, due to which they won the game by 28 runs. And the key highlight of this game was that Pat Cummins, who is their premium fast bowler, he took 3 wickets and it was a hat-trick. He just conceded 29 runs. So the second game that was played from Group 1 today morning was between Australia and Bangladesh, where Australia won the toss and they opted to bowl first, which turned out to be the right decision, because Australia won the game by 26 runs, where Duckworth Lewis method came into play. And the man of the match performance came from Pat Cummins, who took 3 wickets, conceded 29 runs only. So Bangladesh batted first. They scored 140 in their full quota of 20 overs, where they lost 8 wickets. And if we look at their batting performance, Najmul Hussain was the top scorer with 41 runs of 36 balls, and Tawheed Hidoy, who's been very good in this T20 World Cup, he again scored 40 of just 28. Litan Das scored 16 of 25. Shakibul Hasan didn't score much runs, which turned out to be very bad for Bangladesh, because they could only manage to score 140 in 20 overs. When we look at the Australian bowling, Pat Cummins took 3 wickets. Like I said, he managed to get the hat-trick, and first hat-trick of this World Cup. And we'll also talk about the hat-tricks that have been taken in the T20 World Cups and the records related to that, but in the upcoming segments. We continue with the analysis of the Australia-Bangladesh game. Alongside Pat Cummins, Zampa also bowled exceptionally well. He took 2 wickets. He conceded 24 runs. Glenn Maxwell also chipped in with a wicket. He gave away only 14 runs. And Mitchell Starc, their premier fast bowler, he took 1 wicket, conceded 25 runs. And Hazelwood also took 1 wicket and conceded 25 runs. So all in all, great performance from Australia. They are yet to lose any game in this T20 World Cup. They won all of their games in the round stage, and now in the Super 8 they have also started their Super 8 with flying colours. They've won exceptionally well against Bangladesh, and since they won with 26 runs, and it's going to help their net run rate also, because they have to play India, they have to play other big teams in this round to qualify for the semi-finals. So great win for Australia, and it was expected that this side is going to do great, because this is how they play in ICC tournaments generally, and we all know that they are the winners of 2023 50 over World Cup as well. So this was expected, and they started their Super 8 as well with great win against Bangladesh. But a lot to do for Bangladesh. They will also have to play big teams in Super 8 to qualify for the semi-finals. Alright, so if we look at Bangladesh's bowling, they conceded runs very quickly. In 1 to 6 overs, they conceded 39 runs. Alright, we have to move towards the song right now. When we come back, we'll look at Bangladesh's batting and Australia's bowling, and also we'll do a comparison of how both these teams scored runs between middle overs and also in the death overs. Alright, so Mohammad Hafeez was having a podcast with Michael Vaughan and veteran Australian Gilchrist, where he said that when he was the director against Australia series, where Pakistan had to play 3 test matches in Australia, so he noticed that some of the players were sleeping in the pavilion when they were playing the game against Australia, and it was a warm-up game, but players were found sleeping in the pavilion. So he was trying to tell the audiences that this is how Pakistani players behave. Now there are a lot of aspects of this conversation. One is that whether a player of this caliber and this senior level should disclose this kind of stuff at this point in time when our team is going through such a rough time. One. Second, that players also have to change their behavior, because sleeping during a match and in a series against Australia is something that we cannot believe that our players are so non-serious about their game, because while you play the game of cricket, you have to be completely there when you're playing it, because there must be players who did not have the sleep at night, because of which they were sleeping during the game. So this is all about it. So Mohammad Hafeez had to say this during a podcast with these international players. So a lot of aspects of this conversation, but yes, this also clarifies that our players are non-serious, and this is why we are facing this kind of stuff. Another controversy that happened during the test series against Australia was that Haris Rauf pulled out of the series right at the start of the series, which also was a burning thing at that time. And we have seen that Haris Rauf has not been performing well ever since he pulled off from the test series, because we understand that as a bowler you have to ball and ball and ball to become a great bowler. Because if we look at the great performances from the bowlers in this T20 World Cup, it's Bumrah who is doing so well. Then we saw Nokia from South Africa doing so well. All of these players are test match players, and this is the reason why they do well in the T20 format as well. Some of you guys have also raised the questions that if Azam Khan was selected on the basis of PSL performance, then why Muhammad Ali, who took the most wickets in PSL, was not picked over Haris Rauf? That also is a very technical thing that you guys have highlighted, and I completely agree that if one player is being picked on that basis, then you need to pick. And again, PSL is a T20 format, and if Muhammad Ali did so well for Multan Sultans in PSL, he should have been picked, or he should have been at least considered for the 15 players that we selected for T20 World Cup. So all of these questions are genuine, and when the team does so badly in a big tournament like this, then this kind of questions and this kind of conversations do tend to happen. And we have seen this, that all of this is not that great for the team, but I'm sure that all of this will eventually make our team to become more disciplined, and PCB, it will help PCB to take the right decisions as well in terms of the operations that we're talking about since the last 2-3 days, that PCB has already announced that there will be a big operation against the team as well. So we'll further discuss about these topics related to our team. We'll move towards the song once again. When we come back, we'll close our discussion on the game between Australia and Bangladesh, and we'll more importantly talk about the games that are going to be played from now till our next show tomorrow. One game is to be played tonight between England and South Africa. Both of these teams have already won their first game in the Super 8, and the next game is to be played tomorrow morning between West Indies and USA. We'll build up to these two games as well, and we'll finish our conversation on Bangladesh-Australia game. So Bangladesh lost their first game in the Super 8 against Australia. They lost to Australia by 26 runs, and like we said, Duckworth-Lewis method came into play in this game. If we look at Bangladesh's batting performance, they were not that great in the power play. They just scored 39 and conceded 1 wicket. And in the middle overs also, Australian bowling was exceptionally well. They only conceded 28 between the overs 7th and 10th, and 2 wickets were taken in the overs between 11 and 15. Only 31 runs were scored, and in the finishing part also between 16 and 20 overs, 4 wickets were taken by Australian bowlers and 42 runs were managed by Bangladesh. So all in all, great performance by Australian bowling. And like we already spoke about Pat Cummins' performance, it was a hat-trick that he took, and he was the man of the match for this game. And while batting also, Australia was all guns blazing. Their gun player David Warner scored 53 of just 35, and Travis Head scored 31 of 21. So Australia's openers are doing so well in this tournament, because of which they've won all of their games so far, and it will be interesting to see as to how they play against the likes of India, where Australia and India will come face to face first time after their final in 2023 in Gujarat, where Australia won the game against India to win the World Cup and lift the trophy in 2023 World Cup. So we are all looking forward to that game. But Australia won this game by 26 runs, because on 11.2 overs, Australia was at 100 for 2, and with DNL method, they were 26 runs ahead. So they won the game by 26 runs. So great game for Australia again. And when we look at the bowling performance for Bangladesh, they conceded 59 in the power play, which was a lot when you are only defending 140. And in the over between 7 and 10 also, they conceded 21 runs, and from 11 to 11.2 overs they conceded 20 runs, which is a lot of runs conceded. In just 11.2 overs they conceded 100 runs, and they only took 2 wickets. So this is how this game went on. And in the group 1 also, the top teams, India, they beat Afghanistan, and Australia, they beat Bangladesh, and these are the 2 teams who are likely to qualify for the semi-finals. But we'll have to wait and see, because Afghanistan can also do a comeback in the remaining games. But this group looks to be an easy group for India and Australia to qualify for the semi-finals, and if these 2 teams do qualify for the semi-finals, there will be great games to watch. Now we look at the games that are to be played. One game is to be played tonight, and the next game is to be played tomorrow morning. Tonight, the game is going to be played at Darren Semi Stadium in St. Lucia. This is the big game between England and South Africa, and this is the first time that these 2 teams are coming head-to-head in T20 World Cup, and it will be exciting game because both these teams are unbeaten in this tournament so far. And if we talk about the next game that is to be played tomorrow morning, it is going to be West Indies and USA. So both these teams are actually co-hosts. So the 2 hosts of this T20 World Cup will come face to face in the game that is to be played tomorrow morning. We'll talk about further about these 2 games, because these 2 games will actually decide as to which team is going to be the favorite for the semi-finals from Group 2. Alright, so the first game that is to be played tonight between England and South Africa is going to be played at St. Lucia ground. And if we look at the 4 games that have been played here, team batting first have won 2 and team batting second has won 2. So the toss will not be that critical, it will be irrelevant. So for a game like this where 2 big teams are playing, it's important that toss is not that important, because then the game is going to be a balanced game and we'll get to see a strong match out of this England South Africa contest, because all of us are waiting for the games like this where the top 2 teams come face to face, just like Australia India game, which also is going to be a great game. So but when we talk about the West Indies and USA game, which is going to be played at Barbados Kingston Oval, over here the toss is going to be critical. Why? Because the team batting first has won 3 games on this ground, and team batting second has only won 1 game. So any team which wins the toss is going to bat first here, because batting first is the way to go on this ground. And this game is also going to be excited because USA has done so well in this tournament. Although they lost their first game against South Africa in Super 8, but they did well. They only lost the game by 18 runs. So a lot to look forward to. West Indies have also lost their last game against England, so both these teams will try to win this game to stay in the race for the semi-finals. So a lot to look forward to. And like I said, on this ground the toss will be critical, on the ground where England and South Africa will play, which is a kind of a bigger game because both of these teams are ICC top ranked teams. So over there the toss will not be critical. Now, so these are the 2 games that are gonna be played, one tonight and one tomorrow morning before we do tomorrow's show. But the highlight of today is Pat Cummins' hat-trick. Let me tell you, this is the 7th hat-trick in T20 World Cups and second for an Australian, and there were 5 other hat-tricks. I leave today's show with one question to you guys to tell me as to what are the other 5 hat-tricks that were scored in T20 World Cups. I am sure you guys will Google it, but do it and let me know. We'll discuss about the great hat-tricks in T20 World Cups in our tomorrow's show. Time for me to say goodbye to you, all of you guys. You guys have sent me a lot of messages on Pakistani players because there have been a lot of allegations on Babar Azam from very senior journalists. We'll try to cover these topics in tomorrow's show. We can talk little about these things, so we try to avoid long conversation of these topics, but we'll make sure that we answer your questions in a way that you guys are a bit satisfied, because we know that all of these are our stars, and when they do not perform well, we tend to raise a lot of questions on these players. But I hope this situation will also pass by and we'll learn from it, and PCB will take such actions whereby our team will again become one of the best teams in the world and we'll again be topping the ICC rankings, inshallah.